Okay, we're recording this time. We were just recording for like 2 or 3 minutes, and we just got kicked out of the recording. We're a very professional organization here.
You are.
We are recording with Dr. Pete Angerilli.
Nice.
I'm saying it with my artificial Italian accent. But Dr. Pete has helped me with a whole bunch of stuff. I think when I had concussions, you were adjusting me, and it helped the chiropractic adjustments. And we were just saying how you could be a used car salesman, a lawyer, or a realtor. I'm sure you don't like this discussion, but this is the land that realtors live in. So I'm just going to bring you into our world. Okay.
It's okay.
And you're either you're at the bottom rung, but I think in the medical community, whenever I talk about chiropractic, I either have people just saying, oh my gosh, like it's helped me so much. Or I have the direct opposite. I can't believe you get adjustments. You're going to, damage yourself or whatever. I don't know. I'm not versed in it enough to say what people are thinking. But I think your profession is very, it's kind of like this love-hate relationship with it. And I don't know if the school, we were just talking about this a little bit earlier. I don't know what the school is teaching right now. I don't know what the school, I almost feel like it's like a marketing problem.
Perhaps it could be that. Yeah, I think that's been historically a bit of a problem, because I think some chiropractors have felt, well, let's try to be kind of more like a physio or a medical doctor, and we'll gain respect that way. And other chiropractors are saying, well, we're never going to get that. Let's not chase that. Let's just be good at what we are and let people come that want that. Mm-hmm. So there's a bit of that. And yeah, I used to bother me a lot. I used to think a lot about it.
Profession,
yeah, it's my profession, especially when I was newer in profession. But now I don't worry about it. Just whoever comes to see me, I do my best with them. And if they like me, great. And if we can help them, great. And if we're not a good fit, that's okay too. But I have my own, I guess, brand of it, as you know, from my social media, my Instagram and YouTube. I'm trying to promote. In a way.
No, you do. I'm laughing because you do such a great job with it. People talk to me about your Instagram and your YouTube.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun for us to it's really simple and it's fun, and people like watching the videos. That's a whole other thing, is people love watching
That's a
adjustment
whole
videos.
Other world.
That's a whole other world.
Hearing the sound.
The sound. It's the ASMR effect.
What's ASMR effect?
ASMR is like, I don't know that there's an actual definition for that, but basically it's like if you wear headphones, it's pleasing sounds. So there's all kinds of videos of like different people making sounds and whispering and all kinds of things, and people find it relaxing or helps them fall asleep. You got to Google ASMR now. But so for some people, they're watching the videos because they just love how it sounds. They imagine what that would feel like to them. I don't remember what ASMR actually stands for. But anyway, there is that segment. So it's fun to so we have a big following of people that just watch the videos and never come in the office, but they'll watch the videos.
Yeah, but some of that we're getting some marketing
from it. Yeah,
ASMR,
absolutely.
A feeling of well-being combined with a tingling sensation in the scalp and down the back of the neck, is experienced by some people in response to a specific gentle stimulus or particular sound.
There we go.
ASMR is triggered by things like whispering voices, paper tearing, a scalp massage. Okay.
So if you go into YouTube and type ASMR, you will get.
Really?
Oh, huge.
Okay.
Huge, yeah.
I just know when you give me an adjustment, like I just feel somehow I know it's connected to my nervous system.
Yeah.
From just years of doing this, and I guess maybe I should be looking into the science of it a little bit more.
We can talk a bit about it.
So what's happening when you get in a job? I need to talk to you about a bunch of stuff. Marketing, the Buffalo Bills,
yes,
and the Super Bowl. I'm throwing. What are they? 8-2. They're 8-2.
Yeah.
Josh Allen's like on fire. But anyway,
we have the Chiefs though to deal with.
The Chiefs. This actually recording is probably going to go after that game.
Right. Okay.
Let's make a quick prediction. Then we're coming back to chiropractic.
Oh my gosh.
Chiefs.
Okay.
Is it in Kansas City?
It's in Buffalo. I'll be there.
Oh,
Taylor will be there.
Milano's, I heard, practicing again.
He's practicing. He won't be playing. No Keon Coleman. And Amari Cooper might be out too.
Okay, they're not going to do it.
So I know
Shakir is amazing. Shakir is becoming a bit of a superstar. Maybe not superstar. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but he's becoming a great receiver. Kincaid
also is hurt.
Yeah,
he's questionable. Okay. We got a lot of issues.
Low expectations. Perfect.
Exactly.
Low expectations.
Yeah. I think it'll be a close game. What do you think is going to happen? You think they're going to pull it out, or think they'll lose?
Casey's just finds it. They get all the conspiracy theories in the NFL. I don't care. They get all the calls. It's in Buffalo. Maybe it won't be as bad. They're going to win. And you know what? It's going to be great because it'll give Buffalo a purpose for the rest of the year, because if Buffalo beats KC, I know this, as this recording goes out, it's already going to have happened, but if Buffalo beats KC, the rest of the season, that kind of could potentially lock up home field advantage for the playoffs. Am I thinking this through properly? Potentially. Right.
So if Buffalo wins, they have a chance at it. If they lose, they will probably not.
So maybe the really loss. This is a win. Okay, this is me protecting myself.
Yeah.
This is a win-win situation, because if they beat KC, great. It's KC. You know, like
exactly.
Amazing. But if they lose, they have something to play for the rest of the year, because I think they really have to prove that they know they're not better than KC. They're going to have to keep evolving their game. But if they beat KC, there is the danger they'll be 9-2. They'll have potentially locked up home field advantage right through to the Super Bowl, depending on how things play out. So that's a little bit of a trap situation. Yeah. There's a lot of games left.
And people are going to say, well, great, you beat them in the regular season like you did the last 2 or 3 years. What are you going to do in January?
Yeah, exactly.
So kind of a no-win-win.
So actually, now that I'm saying this, maybe I want them to lose. Maybe it's better if they lose.
The psychology of a Bills fan could be a whole other podcast. And you being a Leaf fan... Yeah. It's very comparable, and exactly. What do you want? Anyways. So
I was a Toronto FC fan when they were 0-10. I took 8 into. We were season ticket holders for over a decade, Nick and I. I took 8 into a game one year. I don't know, 6 years into their horribleness, and they were 0-10. And I still went to a game, and they won that game 1-0 with a goal at the last minute of regulation. And you're just in Toronto. You're just used to just dealing with shit when it comes to sports. But yes. Buffalo's turning into something. Anyway, what's your prediction for the game?
I'm gonna take the Bills to win a close one. And then again, what happens with that? I don't know, but I think the Bills are going to pull it out. Give Casey their first loss. I'm trying to be
now
the
that
optimist.
I hear you say this, I'm scared, because I just thought, oh my God, we're all going to celebrate. We're all going to think that's it. We're the best. And then what is that week? That'll be week 11 or whatever. What do we have? 7 games to go.
Tough games too. Tough games to go. I think it's but this is what I would say accurately. No matter what happens, it doesn't really change too much. You lose, you probably get a chance at the 2 seed. So be it. If you win, you've got a chance at the 1 seed, but you're still going to the playoffs. So, and you have to ultimately probably beat KC in the playoffs unless some fluke happens and they get put out by the Ravens or the Bengals or something. But interesting time of year.
Okay, let's go back to chiropractic for a second. So in the nervous system, with a chiropractic adjustment, can you let everybody know, in your eyes and your interpretation of everything you've read and your experience and your knowledge of all of this in the human body, what is exactly happening with a chiropractic adjustment?
Okay, so that is a question. I'm going to try to keep it simple. And I have some, if you go to my YouTube, Dr. P. Chiro, you can watch some more detailed explanations of actually what happens. But when we are moving the spine, so chiropractor puts their hands on someone's spine, gives a push, there's a click. Inside the spine, particularly in the joints of the spine, so we have joints on either side of the spine, that push or adjustment stimulates many, many, many nerve endings in and around the joint. It basically turns on a signal. So that signal goes to the spinal cord, and then part of that signal goes to the brain. And there are people that are researching and studying what does it do to the areas of the brain, and so to affect the nervous system in a systemic way. And it may be looking like things like it might decrease inflammation. It might, probably the most important benefit is it can shift the brain. We have the 2 modes of action of the nerve system, sympathetic and parasympathetic. So sympathetic is like fight or flight, stress mode, right? Gets turned on from, perceived threat or, I should say perceived threat. So it could be a car going to run you over, or a stressful email, or a stressful social media post. Parasympathetic is where we are more relaxed, where our body can heal and rest and digest, it's called. And as human beings, animals in particular, should be most of the time in parasympathetic mode. We shouldn't be tense and you can see where I'm going with this. So there's a lot of now there's some areas of medical research where it's believed that if someone is is kind of shifted towards sympathetic for too much of the time, for too many years, that can lead to certain, dysfunctions leading to chronic disease, cancer, heart disease, stuff like that. Kind of, stress hurts, stress kills. So an adjustment can shift the brain, and this has been measured with PET scans and some other technologies, from a sympathetic mode over to more of a parasympathetic mode. And that's why you might feel like people, they relax or they feel great after an adjustment. And they might sleep really well that night. And then if you get a good sleep, you feel better the next day. So that's really one of the main neurological benefits. Now, having said that, if someone is coming in, it depends on the person where they're coming in at. So if they're in bad shape, they're in a lot of pain, they're a lot of inflammation, the adjustment might not accomplish that in the beginning. But as their spine gets healthier, then they can work to that point. And that's really one of the main benefits.
Okay. And what do you mean as their spine gets healthier?
So if you come into, in my practice, we have people that come in, I got terrible back pain. I have terrible headaches. I have sciatica. They're coming in a sort of situations where their spine is inflamed, their muscles are tight. They might have elevated cortisol, stress physically, mentally, emotionally. And for those people, even just touching their spine, they're going to be sensitive. It's called allodynia. So tissues are inflamed. They don't even touch doesn't feel good because they're sore.
Oh, geez.
So when you're starting to work with someone like that and you do an adjustment, they might actually get even more of a sympathetic response because you're kind of irritating things. But as we get their spine moving and aligned better and healthier, inflammation goes down, muscle spasm goes down, tension goes down, tissues get healthier. Now, like yourself, when you get adjusted, you're not usually, you could be, but you're typically not, I'm not showing up and you're in a lot of pain or muscle spasm or stiffness. You're kind of a little
sometimes I mess myself up.
Yeah, we all do. And that's really what I think for me, that as I do this longer, here's the value. It's great to help people in a crisis situation, but probably the most valuable is keeping people well, because your life, your terms, right? So part of that you're focusing on, and with the podcast, you're bringing in people to discuss that from all kinds of different angles. I think what does that mean on a physical level? Basic things. You can get up out of bed and not be stiff and sore in the morning. You can get through your day, whether it's sitting at a desk or working at a factory or going to the gym. You can do your activities without pain or injury or whatever. You can lay down in bed not feeling too bad, and you can sleep well. Now, those are pretty simple criteria, but how many people can check those boxes? Especially, unfortunately, as they get over 30, over 40. And it doesn't have to be related to age at all, because you and I are probably in the category that we feel good most of the time. Yeah, we can injure ourselves at the gym, or we can have a stressful week, but generally our goal is to maintain or even improve our wellness. But most of the people that come into my office, whether they're, again, 30, 40, or 50, they've got one or all of those complaints. I don't sleep well. I'm stiff and sore in the morning. I can't work out anymore because I can't do squats because of my back. I had a 30-something-year-old police officer, female, in earlier this week. 30, 32, 33 years old. Okay. Cross off squats from the list because of my back.
Okay. What did she do?
Just nothing. Just over time. Most of the stuff, that's another point, right? We do have people that acutely injure themselves. Weightlifting, car accident, falls, those kind of things, macro traumas. But more often than not, it's just the accumulation of... Oh,
so she didn't injure herself.
Not a specific... No, she didn't do that. So just
because of a buildup
sitting in a police car, wearing the gear. That's just an example, But people's life. Yeah. So people's life, whatever that is, may have certain elements of it that are stressful.
So you're an interesting case, though. Sorry, as you go through this, it's just I didn't really realize this before. You're dealing with people with an acute situation, but then also people who are trying to maintain good mobility and good health overall. And it's almost like two different categories of people you're dealing with. And sometimes, I guess the people that are trying to maintain could have a chronic situation or acute situation that they're coming to you for help with, like I have over the years. But it's two different people. So the people that come to you with an acute situation, I guess you're trying to get them to just be, feeling okay again.
Right.
And then after that, then how do you advise them to maintain that? Like, do some of them try to come in regularly? Do you see that? Or do people just you help them, they're out of that acute pain, and then they forget about you?
both happen. And it really depends on, and we can get into this from the business side, but if we think about it, like, and this is where also I want to touch on, like, because people think, well, you know, chiropractic, you're doing something to the spine. Do I need, people will say, oh, if I go once, do I have to go? Let's understand what the goal is. The goal isn't to adjust someone. The goal is to restore someone's spine and nerve system and soft tissues to as close to as normal as possible. So what is normal? Maybe, you know, we're born, we're young, and you know, we don't have a lot of impacts or injuries when we're younger. We have mobility, we don't have pain, our muscles work, our nerve system works, right? And as we go through life, stress, injuries, sports, all the things that like shift us out of alignment, damage us, injure us. So someone comes in, we want to like, we're using the adjustment to restore motion, to restore normal nerve system. Now, nerve system function is basically brain to body communication and body to brain communication. To do a bench press, we need to have signals going from brain down the neck to the nerves of the pecs and the shoulder and the tricep. But we also need to have nerve endings in the elbow and the shoulder communicating to the brain, so your brain knows where your arm is, how much force, maximal or lesser, to exert. So that constant, like, you know, communication to coordinate to produce strength. So basically when we talk about nerve system, we're talking about 100% signal is what we want. Brain to body, body to brain. So if someone comes in, usually they're not there. And usually the signal would go first. Okay, so maybe someone has like posture at work where they sit with their head forward. It starts to, you know, like compress. We're trying to have good posture, but starts to compress the discs and joints of the neck. Then starts to affect the nerves to the arm. Now still like not causing any symptoms. And then they start to notice, oh, at the gym, my right arm is not as strong as it used to, or my rotator cuff feels. So there's a slow progression. And we want to walk them back. Okay, and on that point right there, it's not what it used to be, their shoulder or whatever, because there's some impingement or the nervous system is just not, like, what's the language I'm using? Is without getting it communication from the brain to the muscle that's been somehow impaired? Let's say because of the posture over because of posture, because of changes to the spine and the nerves that run through the spine. Our signal, brain to body, if we could have 100% signal, like a Wi-Fi or a digital signal, 100% or lesser. Let's say signal gets down to 80%. Now the brain can no longer, its control of the shoulder is 80% effective. Now maybe that's not a problem if you sit all day and like look at a computer screen. But if you're doing bench press, or if you're throwing a football, or if you're doing something, then now it's more important, right? Now that person that sits at a desk, maybe they don't notice it until it gets down to like 60%. And then they go, oh, I'm getting like pain down my arm, tingling in my fingers. What do? They pop an Advil, they go to a doctor, they get a this or that, right? So when people come in, and often people come to see me having seen other providers. Yeah. I went to this, I went to that. Yeah, I've been to multiple, right? Like, everyone's a little different. Which is fine, but this is my first thing is we've got to like look at them, like properly diagnose the situation. Where are the problems? Usually there's multiple. And then give them options. We can restore you as close to 100%. And then if you choose to, we can maintain you. How do we maintain you? Part of it is like actual care in office, whether it's adjustment or soft tissue. And part of it is them doing some home exercises, like specific, like might be mobility things I give them. Or more often than not, what I tell my patients now that is lacking is I feel like the area of sort of stress management and sleep. Because people will, you know, they have stress that's impacting their body, how they function, and then also impacting their sleep. And that becomes kind of a cycle where they can't really break out of it. So a lot of the homework I give patients is, would you go home, have a nice dinner, and go to bed by 9 p.m.? And they look at you like, first of all, do I get permission to do that? And second of all, like, really? Like that's what I have to do? Like I don't have to go like, spend like a half an hour doing exercises? No, sometimes you just need to relax and get a good rest and then get into the next day. So you've got to build them. Then when they got that down, then we can introduce workouts. And
real estate investing isn't always easy, but it can be relatively simple. And that's where the Rockstar Inner Circle comes in. Look, there's a lot of real estate investing information out there these days. That's why it's so important to pick your sources wisely. And even though investing isn't always going to be the easiest process, it does not have to be super complicated. That's where tried, tested, and proven strategies like the ones that Rockstar members use come into play. Everything shared in the inner circle is built from firsthand on the streets experience in the current market. It's all up to date, things that people are actually implementing today. In fact, the ongoing courses are delivered live, so they're always up to date with the absolute latest real life experiences. As a Rockstar member, get ongoing access to over 20 different systems and programs covering things like which properties investors like and why, our private rental system, what opportunities the investors are scooping up in student housing currently, the legal side of investing, why or how to use corporations as an investor, a mortgage class with the absolute latest options and programs to build your portfolio as an investor because they're different than a regular home buyer. And there's a whole ton more in all those different classes. Of course, to implement all these strategies, members get access to unlimited private one-on-one coaching with an actual human experienced investor, not an AI chatbot, not ChatGPT or anything like that. It goes beyond training classes in real estate. It's a community for people looking to take control of their own finances, to give themselves options and allow them to live life on their terms. With ongoing live and virtual opportunities to connect, it's built for investors by investors. You can see everything members get at rockstarinnercircle.com/member. It's rockstarinnercircle.com/member. Now back to the show.
Yeah, you're now talking about the principles of just good health, and most people will focus on the tactics like, hey, give me a quick adjustment and let me feel better, which could be a tactic. And the principles would be understanding your body, coming and regularly maintaining good nutrition, good sleep, good mobility, lining the spot, working on the spine regularly, keeping the body in shape constantly. Whereas I find it like everything in life, whether it comes to business building or investing or your health, everyone focuses on the tactic.
Yes.
Where you're starting now to talk about principles and then, creating a strategy of how to maintain your body over months and years. Whereas most people are like, I got a problem, give me a pill.
Yeah.
And that's the tactic they're going to use for like the next 3 years, and it never ends well. So I guess you have to be someone who thinks for the long term to really value chiropractic on an ongoing basis. If you're someone who just wants immediate gratification and can't extrapolate out what your body and life will look like 10 years from now, I feel like it's hard to sell the idea of ongoing chiropractic adjustments, if that makes sense. Whereas I find people who just like are in the moment, need this fix, and then they kind of move on.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I think that's like the vast majority of the population. That's a whole different...
Well, that gets into... But I wouldn't say it's the vast majority anymore, because most people, even if they're not going to do it, I'll have people come into me and say on the first visit, look, doc, I know I should probably be coming in regularly, but I got $500 insurance and I don't have extra money, and I can do however many visits that will get me, and can you help me just get a bit better? And I say, I appreciate the honesty, and I'll help them, right? But a lot of people come in saying like, either I want to get fully better, or I've done it that way and the problem keeps coming back, so I want to get on a proper plan and maintain myself. And those are obviously the most satisfying people to work with, like someone like yourself, because then we can really get you to that stable level and maintain you. And I think we've talked about this in previous podcasts, is like, we don't really know what the limits are for human health and performance from like an age perspective, but we're going to be learning about that over the next,
I feel we are,
right? 20, 30,
a lot of people
50
are pushing the limits now. Yeah.
So we could see that like, people that are 100, maybe they look like someone today who's 60 because of how they've taken care of their body. And that, I love that you said it. It's principles over strategies, because it's why am I doing, because it's
what are you trying to accomplish here?
What are we trying? We get on these things and, oh, I should get a cold plunge tub. Oh, I should take methylene.
It's a tactic.
Oh, I should.
It's a tactic. It's not even a strategy at that point, because you haven't incorporated it into a weekly or monthly plan.
Yeah.
And then it could maybe be part of your strategy. But that just getting a cold plunge is
but you got to ask yourself too, why? What is that? How does that fit in with my print? First of all, what's my goal? Okay, I want to be pain free, or I want to live to 100 or whatever. If that's whatever my goal is, has to kind of fit into what then principles, and then tactics are the last thing that you implement, right? But most people, as you said, they're doing it the other way, and they're chasing the shiny thing.
Human nature,
right? It's human nature.
I'm guilty of it too.
Me too. Me too. Like, and then they'll be like, I kind of laugh because like I wonder what the next cold plunge
red light
will be, right?
Yeah.
Red light, and then like they're recycled.
Yeah.
So like I don't know about cold plunges, but maybe red lights or.
But a lot of it can be good.
For sure.
It's just when it's used as just like this one treatment thing.
And I think so 80%. 80% is like sleep, diet, exercise, movement. 20% supplements, cold, red light.
Yeah. That's a good way.
So if you're focusing all your time and money on the 20%, I would suggest come back over because if you don't have the principles down, you're kind of like you're not going to get as much bang for your buck and for your time.
It's law. Yeah, we can talk about as dealing with investors over the years. It's been very clear to me. It's the same thing. Like, do I buy? I heard condos are the best or student rentals are the best. And it's like, whoa. Okay, those are all like tactics to implement real estate. What is your strategy overall here? And what are we trying to accomplish?
What are we trying
at the principal level?
Yeah.
What are we trying to accumulate hard assets for the long term? What's our goal? Mm-hmm. And then let's have a strategy for getting to that goal. And then let's look at the tactics. Whereas most people come to us in the reverse, which is of course totally normal. I have a question for you. What is the counter argument that you hear to chiropractic treatments? Because it seems like I've experienced it myself that if I have something, I think just a few weeks ago, I gave myself some crazy intense massage with some machine on my neck. Remember I screwed myself all up and I jammed up my neck, and that tinnitus that I've been battling a little bit for months, that's been getting slowly better and better, kind of flared up.
Yeah.
And I knew I needed an adjustment. And you felt my neck, and right when you pressed in there, you pressed right on the spots of like where it was clearly tender. And then you gave me the adjustment, and I could materially tell in my body that like I needed that adjustment and things were better. And the next day, like my neck felt better, my tinnitus had come down. And I guess my question to you is like, I've experienced this. So what's the counter argument? What is the counter argument that you hear? And maybe now you ignore it because then it's just noise to you. But the counter argument I sometimes hear about chiropractic is like, oh, it's dangerous. You don't want someone touching your spine. You can get crazy things can happen to you. Maybe you'll get like a stroke or something. Like you hear these things out there. Is that is that what you see? Is that the right counter argument to present to you? Like what is the counter argument to this? That adjustments don't help the nervous system? Like what is the other side?
I've so gotten away from that. It's a bit hard for me to say that. Like the safety thing is, seems to me the most common one. Yeah. We can leave some research linked to this for your listeners to look at. The safety data for chiropractic adjustments, whether it be neck or mid back or low back, it is extremely safe. The main issue, like in terms of like the amount of force that goes into the spine when we do an adjustment. If you were going to, people think, I get my neck broken.
I see UFC fighters getting like chiropractors with hammers and pieces of wood adjusting the spine into place. Have you seen those adjustments?
I've seen those. Yeah, I've seen it all. People send them to me. My patients send them to me. Look at this one. Like lately, I'm getting a lot of animal ones. Cats and dogs.
No, really?
Adjusted. Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Oh,
I want to like. It looks really cool. But I guess some cats and dogs they love it and they need it.
Okay.
But so like the amount of people think, look at that, it looks violent. It's going to break a neck. It's going to rupture an artery. The amount of force needed to break a bone in the neck or rupture an artery is orders of magnitude, like 10x times the amount that goes in an adjustment. So that's number one. The actual again, we'll provide some research, but chiropractic adjustment is a very, very safe healthcare modality. So I think they've compared it to what is the risk of like a GI bleed from or kidney or liver problems from Tylenol, Advil, and those risks are a lot higher than going to a chiropractor.
Oh, got it.
Getting adjusted. So there's different ways to play it. And again, if someone's really, I don't really see that because I guess if someone's really freaked out, they don't end up ever coming to me.
Sure.
Sometimes people will come in and say
I know when we started, maybe you see something had a question for you, but we're all past that.
People will read the consent form and be like, okay, doc, have you ever killed anybody? And I'm like, No, I haven't. And they go, okay. And they sign it. And then, and there's obviously a trust issue that like once they trust you and
I think that needs to happen because I have been to chiropractors in the past that for whatever reason didn't work exactly for me. I remember someone adjusted, I think it was my hips or something that my back was, I had messed up and it didn't work. It felt like they put me crooked.
Yeah.
And for a couple of days, I felt like I was walking sideways while I was walking straight. Yeah. And then my body, I guess, just kind of realigned itself. So I do think you have to find the chiropractor that like works for you.
Absolutely.
And just kind of stumbling into you, our family has found like, oh, okay, for whatever reason, and you might know better than I do, that for our family, you seem to just have the right touch. I don't know where, how that is.
It's interesting too, because it's the actual physical doing of the thing, but it's how the person perceives it. Mm-hmm. So I recently filled in at a colleague. I had a colleague that was unwell, and I helped out at his office. So you're meeting all these people brand new. They don't know you. You don't really have a lot of time to like build a rapport with them the way I might at my office. And there's an adjusting instrument called an activator. I don't know if you've seen that clicker thing, right? I use it a bit at my office, but I mostly use hands. And this patient, he'd been using the activator. So I looked at the patient notes. Okay, activator C1. Like what he did last visit, and I did the same thing. Click, click, click.
That's like a gentle adjustment.
It's more gentle. It's less force.
Yeah.
It's still like there's research showing it's effective.
Okay.
So I did click, click, click. Okay, Mrs. Jones, see you next time. She comes back a week later. Says, I don't know what you did to me, but you messed me up, and I had a migraine and this and that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm sorry. And I'm like, well, I'm like, I did the exact same thing that he did with the same instrument. Like it's not even hand, so there's no variation. But maybe I didn't like. She's like, who's this new guy? And does he care about me the way the other dog? There's that element is so huge in healthcare in general, right? If you go, because most of people's complaints about their doctors is not actually the thing. It's they didn't listen to me. They don't care. They're too busy. Yeah. I don't really think they take me seriously, right? So part of the healing interaction is completely separate from the actual physical modality.
Damn, it's such a good point.
Looking at people in the eye, listening to them. You don't have to spend an hour with them, but they have to feel like
you care.
You care. Because if they think you're just a number, you're just a dollar sign, you're just a get out, I got to go golf or something. I had someone tell me yesterday, she's really ticked off. Her doctor, she needs a referral for an ear, nose, and throat. She called her doctor's office. Doctor's too busy and too booked, and then going away for a month on vacation. So come, let's talk in January. And this patient is, and I get that because it's like, oh, sorry, we can't find a way in the next 6 weeks to get you in.
Don't get me
anyway, that's a whole other. That's a whole other
Canadian healthcare system.
Customer service. Yeah. But getting back to it. Yeah. So like part of like when someone, again, I wouldn't for patients, but for someone who's going to get into healthcare, like take some time in that first visit to look the person in the eye, listen to them, find out what they're really there for, ask them some questions, and like just bond with them a little bit so that they feel like, okay, like this person actually cares about me. And okay. And then a lot of times the other stuff, because sometimes you will do an adjustment and guess what? You'll be sore the next day because if we have someone that their L4-5 has been seized up for 20 years and we move it, it's going to be sore. Like you had a workout, you broke some scar tissue up or whatever. And if the person gets it and trusts you and believes you want to help them, they're fine with that. But if they're not sure and then the next day they're super sore, they're gone or they're ticked off or they feel like you hurt them. So there's nuance to how you deal with people. Spines come with people. That's the drawback.
Yeah. Humans. So a healthy spine is a spine that is just moving. Like it hasn't locked up. Like how would I say that? Like a healthy spine is a spine that you have mobility with.
Right. So let's step back for a sec. So healthy tissues in the human body. Let's talk about an elbow, right? So an elbow joint, there's the joint itself, the joint capsule, ligaments, tendons, muscles surrounding, and all the nerves embedded in the joint and the muscles. So an elbow has to extend fully and flex fully. And then, of course, we have like pronation and supination. So healthy would be it can do all the movements fully. It can do them without pain. There's no inflammation in the joint. There's no limitation in the elasticity or the contractility of the muscles. And the signals to nerves to the muscles and signals from joint to brain is 100%. That would be like the whole thing proper. So we want that for your elbows and your shoulders and all the joints of your spine, from the base of the skull down to L4-5. Most people have no conception of their spine. It's behind you, for one thing. You don't see it, right? And it's harder to, like, you can look in the mirror and look at how's my elbow or shoulder moving, but you can't really see back there. People, if you're sitting a lot, and people that try to, it's one of the things about posture. People think good posture is like kind of rigid, right? But that's okay, but if you don't move your spine through its range of motion, so it's got to bend forward, bend backwards, rotate, side bend. If you don't do that every day, then it's going to slowly start to seize up. Not in a day, not in a month, but over 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
And then somebody wakes up one day and, oh, my back. But it was a accumulation, a progression over 20 years. The pain might have came like all at once when the inflammation hit a certain point, or the tissue became so rigid and stiff, and then you turned and you like tore something. So if it took 20 years to get to the point where it's stiff, and then somebody kind of stumbles into your services, I guess it could be quite some time to kind of unwind that, no? It can be, for sure, but it's the best analogy, Tom, I think, is working out. Because you could have not worked out and show up at the gym at 40 and get a personal trainer, and in 6-12 months, you could be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, that's true.
The same with anything physical. You need repetition, like appropriate frequency. You need to do something often enough, and you need to do something for long enough. And once you put that demand on the body, whether it's a workout or an adjustment, as months go by, that body is going to change. We don't, and ideally we want people to come in when they're younger, because we don't want them to get to a place where they have some like irreversible changes. So if you have really bad like degenerated discs and joints in the spine, or any joint in the body, you're limited. You still want to restore motion and restore health as best you can, but better to prevent that in the first place. And how are we going to do that? Getting people exercising, keeping them exercising, seeing a chiropractor because they can see your blind spots. They can see that you're between your shoulder blades, that one doesn't move well, and my adjustment gets it moving. And now when you go to the gym and go on your roller and do your cat-cow yoga, you're back to 100%, because you can't always get there fully on your own, despite your best intentions. And that's why athletes use chiropractors.
When someone, and you see it, like I'll just go back to the UFC. You always see the UFC fighters getting chiropractic adjustments just throughout, the lead up to fights. When they put the video cameras on them and do the kind of build up, they're always kind of going to see their chiropractor. When someone says they have a slipped disc, that's how like the language. What's really happening? Is it really that you've sprained your back? Like what's happening when someone says a slipped disc? I think that's very common. Like, oh, be careful. You don't want to lift that weight at the gym. You're going to have a slipped disc or whatever. What's going on?
There's two things there. There's two things there. A lot of like pain gets labeled. So my back is sore after lifting. Oh, what did I do? I slipped a disc. I sprained my back. Like when we examine people, we find out what actual tissues are involved, right? Because sometimes, and oftentimes, labels can be, I have a pinched nerve. They don't actually have a pinched nerve. You have an inflamed joint in the spine that's causing pain, but it's not actually a pinched nerve. Discs don't really slip. They're woven into the vertebrae above and below, like very strongly. But discs can herniate, which is part of the disc material can start to pop out.
Okay.
Can start to put pressure on nerves or spinal cord and start to cause things like sciatica or, pain down the arm. Again, that's the result of a process over time where we get to that. And then and the only way you can do tests to determine like, is the disc involved in this? And of course you can get testing like an MRI that would show you like, is disc material pressing on a nerve root, causing a sciatica? The tricky thing about that, which is really interesting, is they have done MRIs on asymptomatic people.
Okay.
Found disc bulges, pressing on nerves, person has no symptoms. So imaging itself, like we have to be careful because I have patients too that like they get the MRI. We good?
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
They have pain down the leg. They get an MRI. Yeah, you've got a disc bulge pressing on your nerve. We adjust them. They go to physio. They do whatever. And 6 months later, how are you? My leg. Oh, leg's better. They go get a repeat MRI. There's still the pressure on the nerve. It's like, okay, what's going on there? That's a whole other thing. Like, because pain and sensation is in the brain. It's not in the body. So people can have like, and even some of the effect of an adjustment is changing brain chemistry. I talk about that in one of the YouTube videos. And that's why when you see people in the first like month or two of care, you're not so much changing the body, you're changing the way the brain functions. Because in chronic pain, the brain can change the chemicals it expresses and make you prone to feeling pain every day. And part of changing that, changing the body,
it's so complicated.
It's so complicated. Yeah, and we're just learning. But like that's how things like meditation or relaxation or getting good sleep, you can perceive less pain, even though the actual structure of your body hasn't really changed, which is fascinating. And we want to use all those tools. I think when we're working with people, like let's use everything that is principle based to get you to that goal of functioning well, feeling well, getting up in the morning and being ready to go and feeling good for as many years as possible.
I think going to the gym really helped me be more aware of my body because, and going to a gym, like I go to Radix in Oakville here, and just because they have classes, there's other people. If I was left to myself, I'm just not the type of person to go to the gym and do like tricep extensions or whatever it is. Like I have to go to like class and like, someone I don't want to think, just what do I do? So that really helped me.
Yeah.
But through that process of years, you just kind of feel your body like, like when, Rachel at the gym is saying, get your shoulders back. Like, why can't I move? Like I remember her when I first started going to the gym, I couldn't get my shoulders in the position that she was telling me to get them in. I had just no muscle in the spots I just couldn't do it. And then, so you work on that and you just become much more aware of your body, where I was sitting at a desk for like 20 years after university and I just had no awareness of my body. So going to the gym really helped that. And then I think when I got injured myself in some capacity and then stumbled upon you to correct that, you really start to understand what feels good. Like you get to know like, oh, this is how my body is supposed to feel when everything's operating. And when I'm off, it feels a different way. Like you just become much more self-aware.
Yeah.
So going to like having this plan of consistently using my body helped me understand how good it can feel.
Yeah.
And if you layer in good nutrition.
Yep.
And then if you go to see someone like yourself, when something goes off, you're like, oh, maybe I should consistently come here for an adjustment, and that's what I do anyway, just to see if I can keep my body like in this good state for as long as possible. And that's kind of like how I tie it all together. And then recently, Mike this week on our team, it was Remembrance Day, and he wanted to do a workout that was a bit more intense. So we did we hadn't done this kind of workout in a while, but it was like 50 calories on the row, or like as fast as you can. One of these like silly workouts that was like we really enjoy. 50 calories, 50 wall balls, 50 push-ups, 50 dumbbell presses, 50 air squats, 50 calories on the assault bike. I think I'm missing 150 of something. Anyway, 4 times.
That's tough.
And it was tough, but like what I appreciate is like I can do it.
Yeah.
And the fact that I can just do that, even though I'm not some elite athlete, but I can do it and survive it, and it doesn't like knock me out. I feel at my age that I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I think I want for most people. And I think that's why I like having conversations like this, just to get people thinking of like, hey, what's possible?
Yeah.
Not like I'm the be all and end all of fitness by any means. I'm not, or nutrition.
No, but
just work. It's just like a constant work.
Yeah. But what I would say, like you're not an athlete, but for your age to be able to do that is excellent. And that's probably whatever percentile in the population you're going to be above a large number. And there's no reason that necessarily like next year, you're not going to be able to do that, because if you keep working out, keep your spine moving, keep getting adjusted, keep doing the things you're doing. Like, how long can you do that for, right? Interestingly, too.
We're going to see.
Yeah, we're going to see. I plan to do the same thing, right? And interestingly, excuse me, a lot of the older people that come in, 60, 70, they're retired. And what do you think they're trying to do?
Get their fitness going, I guess.
Well, yeah, but like, I'm going on the trip of a lifetime.
Oh God.
I'm going for a month to Italy, or I'm going, and they have the money to do it, but they're like, Doc, like I got this trip, I've waited my whole life, but I can't walk. Like, can you get me?
I've heard that multiple times
like,
the last few months. Yes.
Yeah. So like, I don't know why, like I want people to think about, because it is an investment of time and money. If you get adjusted, let's say every week or two, okay, it's $50-$60 a week. First of all, you can do the comparison on what people spend on their Starbucks order or eating out or whatever. But that is an investment in your future. Because if doing that once a week or once every 2 weeks allows you, when you're 70 or 80, to go on that trip and enjoy your life or play with your grandkids, to me, like, that's kind of a no-brainer. I know not everybody can maybe do that financially, and there's different situations, but like, you want to invest in yourself in that way, right? And also, like, obviously working out too. Not everybody is going to do that, and you and I are maybe a little bit different.
I like to suffer.
I know. Well, a lot of times I'll walk in the office and they'll be like, Dr. P, you're limping. I'm like, yeah, it's not because I have bad backs, because I did deadlifts.
Yeah.
Super sore.
The joke in here in the office is here, like I'll come in limping from something and they're like, look at you, just, a picture of fitness over there, right? I guess. Listen,
we did it to ourselves purposely. It's good for us. It's good for you. Is that?
I'm getting out of my car and it's all slow.
Yeah.
Like I can't bend to myself, right? I'm like, give me a day.
Yeah.
I'll be good.
Exactly. Isn't it weird? Because like if you work out hard, like at least probably 50% of your week, you're in pain.
Totally.
But then part of you psychologically, it's good, it hurts.
Yeah.
I really killed it last workout.
For sure.
Right? But
I like to test myself in the workouts. Like when I want to stop, I'm like, okay, what are you going to do right now? Are you going to stop or are you going to keep going? Especially when we run around this industrial unit and Mike will be doing laps. Like he runs like a gazelle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I consider myself like a jalopy. Like when I'm running, it's all kind of like this. And I'm just like, okay, are you going to stop or are you going to keep going? And I just kind of keep fighting through. Anyway.
Fight through, yeah. But I guess that's part of like being a human being is like, we're designed to do stuff. We're not designed to like sit on a couch or sit at a desk. So we have to, if you're not being challenged by life, you've got to put in the challenges yourself for your body to stay young and functioning.
Yeah, especially on that example, because in the last 6 months, I've met multiple people who've come to retirement and suddenly they've had some health issue where like they literally can't walk more than 100 meters. And they're retiring, wanting to take some trips, and now they can't go.
Yeah.
And they're basically locked at home.
Yeah.
And it feels just so sad.
Yeah.
To work your whole life to have some amazing trips, and then you just can't go.
Yeah. One good thing I would say, it is sad and it's tough. And one good thing is like our kids, they are a different generation because I've just noticed like my guys, like they work out, they're very proactive. They're not like thinking, like I'm young, I don't have to do any, like they work out, they come to me to get adjusted. But I have a lot of younger, like some of my best patients are people in their 20s right now that are diligent, that are willing to, it's not always easy for them time or fineness wise, but they're committed to staying healthy.
Why are they committed? What are they saying to you?
I know I have to take care of this or it'll be a problem when I'm older.
So maybe there's.
I want to stay feeling good. Like they're already having like some back tightness and headaches.
That doesn't
or whatever.
seem normal for a chiropractor to have.
It's interesting. No, I've noticed it over the last 5 years. Part of it's probably awareness of like getting this.
True.
But I mean, like the best patients, like people in their 20s, some in their 30s, like because our generation, I don't want to say, but like some of like the not worst patients, but like people our age that have the mindset of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Oh, now it's really broke. I guess I got to do some little thing to like survive. They're the no pain, no gain in the wrong way. Oh, I'm 50. I guess I should have a bad back now. I'm 50, right? And you're like,
I get that all the time from friends. Hey, Tom, we're in our 50s. Like you should feel like this. I'm like, I don't really know. I think it's because we don't do anything.
Yeah. And again, it really depends on what somebody wants, what their goals are, and then where. But one of the as people do get older as well. So if we look at posture and nerve system, so a lot of people that are not taking care of themselves, and this is also in one of my videos, they'll develop that like forward posture where like they're kind of hunching over, their mid back, they get stiff, and that throws the center of gravity off. Now, if your body, your ankles, your spinal joints are not moving as much as well, you get less nerve signal to the brain, proprioception it's called. So your brain doesn't really exactly know wherever it's doing its best to like, put one foot in front of another. But when you're in that state, one little thing happens, you fall, you break your hip. Because a lot of people too and I tell patients this, like most of what takes people out, you get a heart thing, you get a lot of like, you get a heart problem, you get a stent put in, you're good for another 10, 20 years. Maybe you have cancer, they take it out, you're okay. But a lot of what ultimately takes people out, a fall, then you can't move. Then if you can't move, your body starts to, your bone density, your muscle mass goes down. That has systemic effects. So your ability to move is so critical to your health at every age. And like the Italian or the Croatian nonna or grandma that is 95 and is walking up the mountain to like milk the cow and get like they're staying alive, and their blood test is probably normal because they're moving every day. They may not, their posture might, but they're moving every day, right? And
their posture goes.
Their posture goes, but they're still, if they can still walk, if they can still move, that is so critical, because once you lose that, it pulls everything down. They're still strong. They're doing stuff every day. And we don't live in a world where we have to do that, so we have to do it to ourselves. and or have it done to ourselves by and I'm going to just say here too, chiropractic is a bit different than massage, a lot different than acupuncture. All of them are valuable, but with chiropractic, we're getting deep to the level of the joint where those nerve endings are embedded, because if a joint doesn't move, it will become inflamed. That's one of the first things that happens. Then the nerves in the joint will go to the muscles around the joint and make the muscles tighten. That's the classic, I got the tight hamstring or shoulder muscle, I stretch it, it tightens up again. I get a massage, it tightens up again. Why? Because the problem is coming not from the muscle per se, it's coming from the joint. Muscles don't do anything unless nerves tell them to. So we have to ask ourselves, when a muscle is tight, why is it tight? If it's tight because that underlying joint is not working right and the nerves are irritated, we've got to correct that.
Got it.
Or we have no chance of stretching and strengthening this muscle. So there is a sequence of things that needs to be handled first. And that's chiropractic's really unique role in this, is that we can get to that deep level, correct joint function, correct nerve function. Then your massage is going to work better. Then your stretching is going to work better. I'm definitely biased on that, but I'm really strong on that because it gets back to, it's not about profession, it's about principle. This is how the body works. So there's a sequence of things that need to be dealt with to get maximum benefit. So
it's funny how everything comes down to principles.
Yeah.
Well, something you've done really well, and I don't know if you want to hear this or not, and because I'm sure you're very self-critical about, like, I could be doing this and I could be doing that, like we all are. But just in your business, we've talked about marketing over the years and doing some stuff, and you've stated, like, there's principles to business building and marketing, and it's like creating trust, being an authority figure, and getting that trust from a strategy of having consistency in what you're doing and building a few things and layering on the top of each other. And tactics would be using YouTube or Instagram like you have. And you've done a great job of, like, doing these things, and you consistently, which builds trust in people and it creates an authority in you. So, like, it's like when I've seen you do things online, most people are so ad hoc with it that they'll do a few Instagram videos. They're like, they don't see 5 new clients come in the door. So they're like, okay, well, that's useless. And then they hear about, like, podcasting, and they're like, well, I got to do 3 podcasts, and they do 3 podcasts and nothing comes through the door. And they don't realize that business building, investing, your body, your health, it's all the same. There's principles. Yeah. There's strategies on how you're going to apply those principles in a very systematic way. And then there's the tactics that you plug into the strategy. Yeah. And it's hitting me a little bit because right now, on a totally different, I'm going to take you on a tangent here for a second, but right now Bitcoin's hitting all-time highs. And it's funny, for the last 2 years, we've been talking about, with our clients quite actively, what is money? What is money? Like, how do you define it? What is money? How does it work? How do you create financial freedom? How do you build savings? What are the principles of all of these things? And then once you understand what money is, what is a hard asset? Is this something that you want in your life? Okay, once we figure these things out, what's the strategy to put these into your life? All right, we're going to take some savings month over month and build a down payment to get some hard assets, or we're going to buy some Bitcoin month in, month out. Doesn't matter what the dollar price is of it. We want a hard asset. That's a principle level thing when it comes to investing. We're going to add it in strategically and systematically. And then the tactic might be like, you use like one of the exchanges, or you use like your bank or whatever it is to do it. But right now, I find with like Bitcoin hitting an all-time high in that arena, people are just like, they just focus on tactics like, oh, should I buy Bitcoin? Should I buy something called Solana? Should I buy Coinbase? Like, do I buy the exchange? Like, what do I do? Like, and I need to know the answer now. Like, I can't tell you this week how many messages I've got. Like, okay, Tom, just tell me how much to buy and what to buy. And it's just, you can see how people don't build long-term wealth because they're just playing at the tactical level. And if that thing doesn't go up in dollar price over the next few weeks and comes down a little bit because they don't understand at the principal level what they're doing, they'll just sell it. Mm-hmm. And they won't continue. And it's Perfect. Like, it's the analogy. Same thing. And like business, investing, your health, like it's all correlated, like principles, strategies, and tactics. So when I'm thinking about my life, I'm always trying to figure things out. Like when I stumbled into the CrossFit and stuff, I realized like, okay, these are some tactics. Like I'm doing a squat and I'm doing this thing. Like, how do I build this into my life systematically with a strategic implementation that I'm going to do forever? And then really like, what's going on here? Like, what are the principles of lifting? Like, when I lift heavy weights, am I releasing human growth hormone? Really? Like, how does that work? Like, how do I learn? When I'm doing a chiropractic adjustment, oh, my nervous system is firing better. Like, what's happening in my nervous system here? And then so you can start with tactics and build up to the principles. Absolutely. And then kind of deconstruct what you've been doing and rebuilding it better. And this is kind of like where I like to play in life. Like, well, how do these three things in all areas of my life, relationships, everything, where am I playing today? Am I discussing with, Dr. Pete here, a tactic, a strategy, or principle? And I find just most people in life are always just focused in every arena of their life. They're just focused on tactics. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm always trying to change, not that I'm like perfect at any of this, but I'm just trying to like raise the game a little bit in my own life and talk about things from a different level. And it's why I appreciate talking with you about the human body, because I'm always learning or relearning something when I hear you describe how the spine should be working and mobility. And it just gets me thinking, oh my gosh, am I stretching enough? Am I moving my spine both ways enough? And lately I know I haven't been, so anyway,
that's going to happen. It's going to happen at times. And
see how I brought Bitcoin into the discussion? I just want to share with you how I brought Bitcoin into the discussion.
Yeah, I'm so excited that you did. It's very relevant, but it goes to the long-term game too, because that's like, again, today we can have the instant gratification very easily, right? With our devices or substances or whatever, and to play the long game in workouts or Chiro or Bitcoin, like that's where the real stability, because I think ultimately that's really what people want, is they don't want to be on shaky ground. They want to be stable.
Peace of mind.
And that only comes from principles, never from tactics, because like tactics can change. A good strategy can become, the government changes or a law changes, can become a bad strategy overnight, something with rentals or whatever. But, and it's interesting because I had two patients the last month, both came in, a guy and a girl. They having like pain radiating down the arm, bad. And, the one guy's, I think he drives a bus. The other girl, she cleans houses. And it was like very similar. X-ray was similar. I'm like, look, it's going to take some time. I know you're in a lot of pain, but we already know it's not a thing that needs surgery. You've tried medications. We need to stick with this. If we stick with this, cool, we'll get there. Mm. So
did they believe you?
One did, one didn't. So the one person was like, it's still, I adjust them the next day. Oh, it's really bad. I'm like, I know. You just keep coming, whatever it was, twice a week, 3 times a week. And after 2 weeks, the one person disappeared because every time they came in thinking, well, you didn't work a miracle. Mm-hmm. And the other one, the lady, she's like, today it's starting to get better. Oh, she was like almost crying.
Cool.
And in the big scheme of things, like, 2-3 weeks is not that long. The problem's been building for 20 years. But again, part of like all the social media stuff, which you really helped me with, is that you're putting that out to allow people to consume it at their pace and slowly build trust, so that when they come in, they're like, okay, that's the person to help.
They've already signed authority to you.
Yeah, as opposed to like they Googled and you were the closest. No, whenever someone comes in like that, I'm like, oh, let's see how this goes.
But like, I know. Times now.
Sometimes it's okay, but like if they can like see your content.
It's like when somebody calls in our business cold. It's like, oh my, like if someone walks in the door, like we're the weirdest business. If someone walks in the door and says, "Can I speak to somebody about real estate?" We're like, oh,
what do you start with?
We have a training class next week. Can you come to that first? We don't have time for you. Like, it's weird, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm going through the same things that you talked about, because like our Instagram blew up and we get patients from Instagram, but it's not the same every week. And then sometimes you're like, oh, we haven't had a patient from Instagram. What's going on? Well, we haven't changed our tactics, so who knows? And then YouTube, I had this thing, I wanted to really get our YouTube up, and we made some really high quality videos,
to get YouTube subscribers,
but it's not really picking up. And like, I'm looking at the video, I'm like, this content is like beautiful, but for whatever reason, so we have to just keep at it and play the long game.
Yeah, and then one thing, just I guess my marketing brain's turning on when you say this, is one thing is, remember, we'll never own our YouTube subscribers or our Instagram followers, so you always have to do your best to collect email addresses or addresses or mobile phone numbers that you can communicate with directly, because YouTube can just like turn you off in a second.
That's
Instagram
a great point.
Keep that in mind, because I know you're building wonderful audiences, so just keep that. And it could be a smaller thing that you're growing, but just keep growing. growing the ownership of the data yourself.
I'm always petrified. I think that's a great. And
YouTube banned us, right? One time, because when we started, it was all under my personal name, Rockstars Videos, and I guess I don't know if we had like music in the background of one video that was like a copyright violation or something. And one day we had just moved into not this office, our previous office, and Nick called me. He's like, "Our whole YouTube channel's down. It's gone." And you would go there, and it had like it said something worse than copyright violation. It's like, this channel is in violation of, and it sounded as a business, if you had potential customers looking at the message, whatever was there, you would be horrified. And it was that.
Yeah.
And I tried to appeal it through their online forums. Luckily, 6 months before, we had backed up about 7 years of our videos. So we just started a new channel and uploaded everything, and we were okay. But thank God we didn't just upload to YouTube and do that. 6 months later, my appeal was won, and they turned it all back on. So then I had duplicate videos, and I actually had to remove it all from my personal channel.
Yeah, but frustrating and scary.
So just keep that in mind for your business.
Yeah. I will for sure. And
what are you doing on YouTube now? I'm curious. Like, what kind of videos are?
So we're trying to. I'm trying to do longer form videos that explain more of the detail of like, how does the adjustment work? How do principal videos?
Okay.
Now, principal videos may not be as interesting because they are, like their detail. But those have been some of the later ones. We have our shorts on there, which are basically, the shorts are the duplicates of our Instagram and TikTok. Like the short adjustment videos. But the long videos, if you see there, there might be 10 minutes or something, and they go through, well, one of them we talk about TMJ, one of them's about like, how does it work? Is it a scam? I put on the one, like to address like, people think that like chiropractors.
That's the marketer in you. That's the marketer in you. I love
just to like let people, and you know what though, I can also do it is like oftentimes, we did a funny one, office parody. That was all right there. But oftentimes what I'll even use them for is like a patient comes in and is like, I just want to learn more about this. I'm like, here. And I send them my own YouTube video. So way better to watch my YouTube video than some other chiropractor or doctor's YouTube video, because I can control the message to a degree, right? But I think this is the other thing I want to touch on. I know we're probably getting short on time, but today's world, I think the commodity that is now lacking is human contact and touch. And even connection, in the sense of, I was talking to somebody about this, like if you go to the bank now, if you go to the bank today and then a month from now, the tellers could be
different. They're swapping around.
You don't need the manager, you don't even. It's like
I don't even know. It's like I went to the side counter to open some account of something that I never want to do at the bank because I hate dealing with the bank, and they looked at me like I was crazy. They're like, "Oh, do you have an appointment? You do that online now." They like kind of barked it at me. I'm like, "Oh, okay. Sorry for coming into your business.
Interrupting your day."
I will leave now.
So I know, to have like a place you can go where people are going to smile at you, care about you, you're getting touch that's therapeutic, is going to be really important as we shift to more digital, more AI, more, no, we don't do that anymore, sir, you've got to do that online. To have a place like that, I think, is going to be really important.
This is a big trend going forward. Like, local community is going to continue to be like the rare thing. So like, if you have the local chiropractor who cares about you and the local baker who makes your favorite donuts,
who
like,
knows your name and goes, he likes a double espresso.
Well, just how healthy it is to have proper social interactions on a regular and repeated basis without having to like search them out. So like, I think that it's going to become more and more important, and you're serving kind of that role. And
that's my encouragement for like, our kids and younger people. Like, you want to get into those, like, you like, I don't know, some people have the dream of like sitting at home with their laptop. For a lot of people, that's their dream. I never leave the house. I'm at home with my laptop.
That gets old pretty quick.
But and so like, we need people out in the community. Like, we have other people. I have widows coming in. People like their spouse passed away, and we're literally the only
lonely
contact that they have, right? And it's 5 minutes or whatever, but it, like, you can see that it makes their day, right? And that's, I think, really important, and is going to, as we said, become even more so. So. All people listening out there, get your kids to be chiropractors. Or whatever. Open a donut shop.
Thanks for taking care of our family like you have, and continue to, and helping us out through all the times we mess ourselves up. All of us, I think, in our family have been kind of messed up at different points. So really appreciate it. So on YouTube, Dr. Pete Chiro. On Instagram, Dr. Pete Chiro, and Dr. is DR. So
DR
Pete Chiro.
On
Instagram and on YouTube.
I think TikTok as well. I think we're Dr. Pete Chiro. Yeah.
I think you're on TikTok as well. I don't have TikTok, and some people send me TikTok stuff, and I can't. Sometimes I can watch them. Sometimes I can't. I don't know how that's all working on my phone. Clearview Chiropractic in Burlington is your office.
Yes.
Clearviewchiropractic.ca is the URL. And you have a book that you have at the office.
We have a book.
Yeah, is that on your website too? Clearviewchiropractic.ca.
Yes, I believe we have it on, or someone can just message us and I can.
What is the book about? I forget.
So the book I wrote 4 years ago, and basically it gets to the principles of why you want to have a proper nerve system and spine and how to keep it.
Okay, so you put about a lot
and a bit about chiropractic safety, how it works. Yeah, so like kind of. To show people, and a little bit about like my background, but yeah, it's short. It's like 60 pages. But you inspired me. To listeners, Tom inspired me to write this book, so I did in 2020, and it just gives. And people seem to. I know they don't sit there necessarily. Some do read it, but you got a book, and they'll just read a few pages. Okay, cool. But those that want more, they can go through and get some of the science stuff we talked about today. I think that's like. I always think chiropractic nerve system. It's like really the most important system in the body because it controls everything. And anything you want to do. I want to bench 2. What are you benching now? 2. What are you benching?
I got up to 255.
255. Yeah. So your whole ability to bench 255 is incumbent upon a nerve system that can send the signal and receive the signal back. Right. If you got an interruption signal, you're down. So that's and that's not just chiropractic. That's things like meditation and good sleep and everything. But it's often
nutrition, protein.
Yeah, it all goes. But I think nerve system's a great starting point for everything in the body because it's brain, spinal cord, nerves. It's what controls everything. It's the first system that develops when we're little embryos, and it's the thing that makes us unique as beings. So.
By the way, Nick told me not to tell people 255 is my max bench. He's like, it's slightly embarrassing. You should be able to do a lot more. But my brother's
what's his?
Because his is, I don't know, 300 and he's been working out since he was 21, 6 days a week. All right. He needs more rest. He needs more sleep and more rest. But his bench press is quite high. Yeah. I don't know what it is. I don't want to say the number. I'd be guessing, but I know
it's a bit of a brag. But that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. We should have.
I'm so happy at 255. Are you kidding me? It took me a while to get there. I'm so proud.
Congratulations.
I'm so proud.
And maybe that's not the top end. You might have.
I did that at 51 years old as my new record. So
that's awesome.
So for me, that's a big deal.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Dr. Pete, thank you. So clearviewchiropractic.ca at Dr. Pete Chiro on Instagram, Doctors DR, same on YouTube. And thanks for doing it.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
Go Bills.
Go Bills. Go Bills. Go Bills.